today I'm back over the woods. It's quite a nice day today. It's rather warm. I'm going to take a seat here. There's all these branches and logs and shit. So for the last several days I've been kind of brooding about nothing nothing in particular, just sort of on my own, and sort of, I don't know, feels strange because last week I was in town and I found a bloke, a homeless bloke, who was a guy I knew from school, and I used to see him years ago, and it was it was a surprise to see him in that way, in that sort of situation. So he's a guy I knew from school. So I've known him for about 15 years. After school, when school ended, he was like the only one I knew who was about, that I thought I'd hang out with him, because I didn't really have anybody else to hang out. I mean, when I was like 16, 17, 18, I was like, my social life consisted of basically going to play bingo with old people, and so I mean, so himself, like, me and him, we couldn't be more different. He was a bloke who was like a chav, and he's so I never really had anything in common with him, and I never really had anything to talk about with him. We just kind of had the same sort of stupid sense of humour. Nobody wanted to stay in contact with him. His mates didn't want to stay in contact with him, and nobody wanted to stay in contact with me. So we would kind of, we would see each other and just hang out, and we would kind of push together. So yeah, we would hang out with each other, and he was involved with drugs and all that sort of thing, and I'd go around his house and hang out with him and that, but he eventually, I went to college, but I would come back and still find time to see him. He never changed, right? He never went anywhere. He stayed in the same place. He, I suppose kind of like me. I never really went anywhere. He ended up meeting this girl, right? And she became his partner, and then they started having kids and all this sort of thing. And I would come round and stuff, and it was cool. But he was the same old person, right? He didn't appreciate what he had. He had it really good. He had his own place, he had a partner, and he had kids. But he didn't see it like that. The way he saw it was, when can I get my next, bag of weed, basically. And I come round and see him for a laugh and stuff. But we'd sit out in the garden, or we'd be sitting in the shed or whatever, and I'd be really sort of envious of his life. He had a good life that he didn't appreciate it fully, and he was always in trouble with his partner after a while, and he would do like shit labouring jobs and stuff, and he would call me up if I, ask me if I needed work or whatever. So I'd come into town and that, and I'll go and work with him. So I appreciate that. And when I would be round his house and stuff, I would notice that you'd have these like fucking weird like blokes who'd come round, and they're supposed to be his other mates, right? But they weren't mates to him at all. They were using him, to get weed off him and stuff, because he'd be the one to go and get the weed, and then his mates would come round, and he would have to share it with them. So they only came round for one thing, basically. They weren't proper mates to him. I came round for a laugh. I didn't give a shit. I come round for a laugh. I don't come round to see anybody because I want something. I come round to see someone because I want to. So I'll be for many years, I went round his house and that, and hung out with him and his family and that, and but he never changed. He never changed at all. He would always get himself in trouble with his partner, and his this is quite a it's quite it's quite a personal thing. I don't know why, I feel like sharing it. I guess it's just been on my mind. But anyway, I've known him for a long time, and I know what he's like, and he sometimes would get involved with people and do harder drugs, and then he would be desperate for money. Then he would steal from his mum and his grandmother and things like that, which I thought was pretty fucked up. Because sometimes I would come round and he wasn't in, and it would just be his partner with the kids there and stuff, and she'll be going, those fucking arseholes, they only come round to see what they can scrounge off him. You're a proper mate to him, but he doesn't appreciate you, and all this sort of thing. But yeah, so I know what he was like. And then there was a time when he got me involved in a labouring job and didn't end up paying me for the work, and it was like owed like 260 quid, I think it was, but he didn't end up paying me, so I was quite pissed off about that, and but he would find himself, I understand why he didn't pay me, because he was literally always in debt with people. He was always in debt with whoever, the weird manky bloke from down the street or whatever, he was always in debt with some strange characters, and he would bring those problems home and stuff like that, and and that is kind of why I kind of sort of kept my distance. I decided to sort of keep my distance. I mean, you know, I thought he's not going to change. You know, I'm going to keep my distance from this whole situation. You know, from him. You know, and all that. You know, I understand why he didn't pay me, because obviously he needed the money to pay off his debts and things like that. Because so yeah, it would always be quite out of control. But I would always come round, and he always had time for me. You know, he always wanted to chat and reminisce about school and things like that, and have a laugh. So anyway, I saw him last week, and you know, I haven't seen him for about 4 years, I think. About 4 years. And so I was like, sort of, it was like pouring down with rain, and I was like trying to find some place to go, something to do. I sat in this cafe for a bit, and I didn't realise that this was a cafe for like people with mental health problems and drug addiction and all that sort of thing. And I had a woman who come up to me a few times saying to me like, "Are you homeless? Do you need a hand or whatever?" You know, and I mean, I'm pretty fucking scruffy, so I can understand why she would assume that I'm homeless. But initially I didn't clock in. You know, I didn't sort of realise what this place was really for. I just thought it was a cafe. You know. So then I just went out. I went out wandering and stuff, wandering the streets and that, and then I saw him, and I ran into him. I bumped into him, and he was, he looked, he was happy to see me, you know. He was, but he looked fucking ill. Like his eyes had like shrunken in, had like sunken into his face. His cheekbones were really visible and stuff. He looked, you know, really fucking ill. And also, you know, I looked at his teeth, and they were all black. Literally, all of them were like rotted away. What the hell? What the fuck happened? So I got chatting to him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm homeless." It's like, I've been homeless since February. But I make the before realising that he's homeless, I ask him if he wants to go for a drink in the pub, you know, and sort of chat, and then we went over to the pub, and that's when he told me he was homeless. And but there was something about him, obviously, you know, other than his physical appearance. There was something else about him that was a bit off. He was talking very loudly and kind of looking around to try and sort of pull people into his conversation. Well, sort of, I don't know, there was something about him that he was like, he never, like before, he was kind of, you know, chill and relaxed, you know, but he was very boisterous and very kind of ADHD, which I thought was very peculiar, because he's not like that normally. Well, that's not how I remember it. And so yeah, I was chatting to him and stuff, just sort of catching up with him, and and I think now I got him a drink, but I probably shouldn't have got him a drink, just in case he might have been, you know, he could be alcoholic or whatever, so, you know, I might not have been helping him out. You know, I don't because he was acting like a schizo, you know. There was something wasn't right. He could have been, you know, it could be anything. Um, so yeah, he was acting very strange, and then I was like asking him, like, you know, what you doing? Do you have anywhere to stay? And he's like, well, I'm going to the library and stuff and getting the Wi-Fi so I can call whoever, call the council, and, you know, stay in contact with whoever and stuff to see if I can sort out accommodation and stuff. Then I said to him, well, do you know about this emergency accommodation office place, you know, have you been in there? And he's like, nah, I haven't been in there, no, I don't think I would either. And he's kind of, you know, didn't want to do anything on his own. So I said to him, no, come with me, and we'll go in. I'll go in with you, you know. And he was like, yeah, all right. You know, I was expecting some reluctance, but he wasn't reluctant. And so I think if I didn't go in with him, you know, he probably wouldn't have bothered. So yeah, I went in there with him, and I sat down with him, and you know, filled in paperwork, got himself registered and all that sort of thing. And so it wasn't like an immediate thing, and it was kind of like, you know, we'll get in contact with you next week or something. So wasn't really much help for, you know, for the immediate future. So I you know, so I'm thinking, you know, and I'm thinking realistically, I'm thinking logically, like, what would I do if I was homeless? Oh, I would register with them, you know, try and get some kind of emergency accommodation. I would, I don't know, find where the food bank is. So I took him to a food bank, you know. I showed him where a food bank is, and I'm like, you know, have you eaten today? And we can come in here, you know. Let's go and get some food in here. Let's register and all that shit. And so, yeah, he just wasn't bothering to do it on his own. But yeah. So yeah, I had a feeling that he might be like addicted to drugs or something, because he was going, yeah, there was a weekend when I did shitloads of crack and all this sort of thing. And so, which could explain why, you know, he's acting like a schizophrenic. But so I took him to the cafe that I was at earlier, and I said, well, they sort people out, you know, like that. And I actually took him in there because, like I say, I don't think he would do it himself. So I actually took him in there and referred him to somebody and stuff. And yeah. So I was like, then we kind of wandered about a bit, you know. He got himself a, you know, the emergency accommodation office gave him a sleeping bag and stuff for the meantime, you know, until like next week or whenever, until they get in contact with him. So he'll have to sleep on the streets in the meantime. So yeah, I was walking with him and chatting with him and stuff, and he's like talking loudly, and he's like, and all this sort of thing. But he was saying that he's in contact with, you know. So he's telling me. So I sort of asked him, like, what's going on with, you know, your partner? And he's like, oh, she's my ex, you know. She kicked me out fucking years ago, and all this sort of thing. So yeah, so he fucked that up, and apparently she don't want to know. And I said, can't you talk to your mum? And he's like, nah, she don't want to know either. She don't want to talk to me or nothing. So and so then he starts telling me, oh, I'm in contact with these birds, right? And I'm in contact with this bird. She's well fit, you know, bruv, and she's you know, she's gonna be my next partner, right? And I'm going, right, okay. And but I went, you know, the other week I went over to Clacton to go and see her, right? And then fucking she didn't actually show up. And I was like, oh, okay, so she just mugged you off then? And he's like, oh, I suppose she did, but, you know, I still love her and all this sort of thing. And then he was saying that he's in contact with this other girl, but she was like telling him to come out, you know, go for a massive trek along the, you know, the main road to this other town to go and fucking bring some weed to her and stuff. And I was like, okay, I think she's using you, mate. I don't think she's really that interested. And he was like showing me the text messages and stuff, and I was like, I don't think she's really that interested, mate. And so then it started pouring down with rain. You know, he got himself some food. We got him food from the food bank and stuff. You know, and so sort of hanging about, wandering about, and that, and just sort of talking, and it comes later and later, you know, and I said, you know, it's pissing it down with rain, right? Do you really want to hang out on the streets all night, right? Why don't you just, you know, call your partner, you know, try and make amends, basically. Try and make amends with your mum and all this sort of thing. Try and, you know, so you can go back to him, you know. I understand why they don't want anything to do with him. I understand, you know, I get it. I've known him long enough, you know, I know what he's like. But, I mean, with his partner he had shelter, right? He had a roof over his head, he had food, and he had, you know, he had his kids there as well, you know. So I was like, you know, why don't you try and make amends and stuff? And so we sit in this doorway, and he's like, nah, there's no point. There's no point in talking to him. No point in talking to him. So I say to him, you know, fucking just try, you know, try and see what you can do, you know. And so we stand in this doorway, and he just sits down on the floor, and he's trying to call his mum and trying to call his partner, but they don't seem to want to answer. And then they change the text, because they reply and say, what the fuck do you want? And he's like, you know, I need help, you know, I'm homeless, can you please let me back? And they're like, no, fuck off, basically. And so and I'm just like, it's pouring down rain, and I'm just I'm staring at him, you know, and I'm just observing, right? You probably think, oh, you know, I'm probably staring at him vacantly. No, I'm just observing him, and I'm just staring at him. I'm standing up and I'm looking down at him, and he's sitting there on the floor, and he's like sitting there, and he's shivering, and he's like, you know, I can never get over the fucking cold, man. I can never get over the fucking cold, bruv, and all this sort of thing. And I got more body fat than him, you know, and he is skinny as fuck, and I got more body fat than him, and I'm just like, oh, I don't feel cold, you know, but it's probably affecting him even more. And yeah, I'm just observing, and I'm just watching as you know, he's just being rejected by people. I understand why, but so I just said to him, you know what, come with me. So Yeah, he doesn't ask me. He never asked me for money at all. This whole day, he like never asked me for money. Right. I would never give him money. Right. I'd never give him cash. Because I don't know what's going on with him. He could be addicted to something. I don't know. He didn't. Anything's possible with him. So I said, come with me, and we walked down. It was a bit of a trek, but we walked down and we walked to this hotel, and yeah, by this point it was getting quite late. But luckily this hotel was still open, and so I went in there and I basically explained the situation to this woman, and I said, my mate here, he's homeless, he wants a place to stay for the night, right? And oh yeah, he was saying that because I said to him, is there anybody you can get in contact with for like cash in hand work, right? And he was like, oh yeah, there's this one bloke, and then he's texting this bloke, and this bloke replies, and he shows me the message, and the bloke replies, and he says, yeah, I can give you money. You show up at mine tomorrow, and I, you work for the day, and I'll give you money and all this sort of thing. I'll give you cash and that. And so yeah, I took him to the hotel, and I explained that he was homeless and shit, and he's do you have any problem with him staying here? And she's like, no, it's fine. And so I paid for the night, right? I paid for him to stay there for that one night, right? And so I said to him, so if you want to stay off the street, right? You want to stay in the warm, you want to stay in the shelter, you want to have a hot shower and shit, you want to sleep in a warm bed, for the weekend, go to that bloke tomorrow, do that cash in hand work. It sounds like painting and decorating. That's fucking piss easy. We used to do that years ago, right? You do that job, right? Give you cash in hand, and then you can use that money, right? You can use that money. I basically lectured him. So I said, you can use that fucking money, right? You be honest with him. Tell him what you need the money for. Tell him that you want to stay in a hotel. Tell him that you need the money to stay in the hotel for the weekend or whatever. And tell him, just be honest with him and stuff. And I said to him, you get yourself paid, you use that money to stay in this hotel for the weekend, right? And you know where the food bank is, you know where to get food, right? Okay? You're registered with the emergency accommodation people, they'll get in contact with you when it's time. If not, follow them up. Right, you have their number. And so I said to him, these slags, right, that you're talking to, they are slags, right? The one that, and he's going, no, that one, I love her, bruv, and all this sort of thing. And I said, no, she's a fucking slag, right? She's taking the piss. She fucking mugged you off. You went over to Clacton, and she didn't fucking show up. She's taking the piss. Ignore her. Don't even talk to her anymore. And the other one, she just wants you for fucking weed, mate. She wants you for fucking weed, They, listen, you're homeless, right? You're homeless and you've got fucking no teeth. Your teeth are fucking black, right? They're not going to want to know, right? And so he's going, oh, that's ruthless, bruv. That's ruthless. And I'm going, well, it's true. It's true. They don't really want to know you. They don't really want to know you, and they're just using you or just wasting your time. Fuck them, ignore them, don't worry about them, alright? Now, get yourself sorted out, get yourself paid, stay in the hotel for the weekend and whatever, and take whatever job you can get, whatever cash in hand shit job you can get, so you can continue to stay in this hotel until, you get emergency accommodation, right? Now, don't do it for yourself, right? Don't do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else, right? Do it for your kids, right? Sort yourself out for your fucking kids. Hopefully, at some point down the line, you'll be able to go back to your, your exes and be with your kids again, And I was like, you had it fucking made. You had it fucking made, right? And yeah, so I don't know whether he, I was serious with him, but I don't know whether he actually took anything on board. I don't know. It could have been that, because I said, I was going to go. I said to him, I'm not helping you with anything else, right? And I was like, this is all I'm helping you with, right? And I just hope I pushed you in the right direction. So he was very appreciative, right? But after I left, I mean, anything could have happened. He could have fucking kicked off and got himself thrown out. Anything could have fucking happened. He could be on the fucking back on the street again. He could be back with, some fucking mental bloke, doing crack with him and fucking, Oh yeah, he said, he had one of his teeth knocked out because he's in a lot of debt with people, and this massive bloke come in when he was standing in someone's caravan once, and this bloke come in and fucking punched him in the face and knocked his tooth out. But this is according to him, so take it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, if that's true, he's in a situation. He's got himself in some shit situations. So I said to him, basically, I'm not helping you with anything else. I just hope I pushed you in the right direction. You're now registered with whoever. So yeah. Yeah, so I've just sort of left him to it. I don't know whether it's it probably hasn't made any difference. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know whether I should have helped him. I don't know whether I should have even bothered. I think, maybe I should have seen the state he was in, when I first saw him, and thought, yeah, I'm busy, mate, I gotta go. Maybe I should have done that. I don't know, but I like to think that I've pushed him in the right direction, but I'm not entirely sure. But he was listening. He was appreciative. But did it go in? Did it go in? I don't know. But yeah, he's not my responsibility. Because you could say, like, why didn't you have him live at yours? I can't have him live at mine. If he's saying that he's in debt with people and he's, a bloke came and fucking punched him in the face for it, I don't want that shit around my house. I'm not having anything to do with that shit, and it's possible that, he probably won't sort himself out and then he'll turn my place into a shithole. Fucking smoking crack on the sofa or whatever. I can't have that shit. And you could say, well, you're not much of a friend. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what we were. He liked having me round. He liked my company and stuff. We didn't have anything in common. We had a laugh in that. But I don't know whether he, I don't know. He's just a guy that I knew from years ago, and I've done what I can. I'm not helping him with anything else. So, yeah. I'm not going any further than that. because chances are it could be a fucking waste of time, you know. Yeah. So that's why I've been brooding for the last couple of days. It's just I haven't been sort of feeling guilty or anything. I feel like I feel like I should, just walk away, and that's all I'm doing for him, right? I feel like I've done, I think I'm right there, right? But I don't know why why I've been brooding, I don't know why I've been, I suppose it was a shock to see him in the state that he was in. He looked like absolute shit. So, but I think I've done the most I can for him. Yeah, I mean his people, his close family and stuff, they don't want to fucking know. They don't want to fucking know at all. And since February as well, if that's true. So, yeah, but there you go, that's it. So, yeah. It's not a thing I talk about with people. This is something I would normally keep to myself. But like I say, I don't really have anybody to confine with, so yeah. It's a nice day. It's a nice day. Nice and sunny. Yeah. All I can say is I just I don't know. I hope I made a difference, to him. But if not, then I mean, I tried, and I'm sure that other people tried. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really like going into town. That's a no-brainer. That's obvious. But I like being here, where I am. Sometimes I like being on my own. Sometimes I feel lonely. But oh well. I'm trying to figure stuff out for myself and trying to get some shit sorted for myself at the moment. I don't know what I can do, what else I can do, but oh well. Alright, well. I think I've said enough today, so yeah. Goodbye for now, I guess.